Hi all, I just want to record you this quick video to summarise where we are with the flexible furlough scheme, what's happening, summarise the rules, and just basically go through some of the questions that I've been asked this week that I think it's important that everybody knows the answers to. So just to remind you on the rules, from the 1st of July, you can now only furlough employees that have previously been furloughed for a minimum period of 3 weeks prior to the end of June. So that is essentially anybody who went on furlough from the 10th of June or before. 10th of June to the 30th of June is your 3-week period. You can furlough them flexibly from the 1st of July, but you can't put any new employees into the furlough scheme. What does flexible furlough mean? It means that, first of all, there is no 3-week minimum block now for furloughed employees. You can furlough anybody for any period of time. Secondly, you can also furlough them part-time, so it doesn't have to be a all in or all out. So this is a great opportunity to start thinking about bringing people back into the workplace on a part-time basis, whatever that looks like. Part-time, what is a part-time basis was asked to me during the week, and that can be anything you want it to be, from 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days is back to full-time. So I think that gives us great flexibility and a great opportunity to start bringing people back into the workplace as we need the resource. There are a couple of important bits announced in the detail that we hadn't seen in the initial announcement, which is, whilst that 10th of June deadline applied to normal employees or employees who had been working or were previously furloughed, it doesn't apply to anybody who's on mat leave. So if you've got an employee on mat leave, they are, and they're due to come back in July or August, you can still put them straight onto furlough at that point, even though they won't have been on furlough prior to the 10th of June. So that's a result. The second thing to consider is the maximum employee rule that has been brought in. So what that is you cannot now, from 1st of July, furlough a higher number of employees than have been furloughed in a previous month. So, for example, if you had a workforce of 10 people and you'd furloughed half your workforce, i.e. 5 people in May, and then the other half of the workforce, the other 5 people in June, your maximum number is now 5. So from 1st of July, you couldn't furlough 6 people in one go. You could only stick to that maximum of 5. So that's just something to watch out for. Don't think it'll affect very many people, but you just want you to be aware of the rules. For anybody you are bringing back, whether it be bringing them back part-time or bringing them back and then considering putting them on furlough at some point in the future, you'll need a written consultation and a written agreement with that team member. I don't have a template for that. I can introduce you to somebody who would have a template if you need one. But that will be, I think, really key. I'm not an HR lawyer, but I would say, well, first of all, you do need the written agreement and consultation with the team member. I'd also say, if you're bringing them back, try and put some certainty around what working hours you want them to be working. Try and agree a working pattern. Don't chop and change it too much each week. Whilst the regulations allow you to do that, what you wouldn't want to happen is some point down the future be hauled up for treating an employee unfairly. So make sure everything you do is treating them fairly, as well as looking after what you think is the business need. Of course, you can bring somebody back on the assumption that some work's going to come in, and then if it doesn't, you can then re-furlough them for a period of time. That's perfectly okay. The final thing we talked about on the call and some of the questions that we were talking around was around creating a plan. So now's a good opportunity to start thinking about what income streams might be coming in. How might we plan to bring people back to work to service those income streams, or even to get them kick-started? I think the other two important parts of a plan as well are, first of all, we're now getting to nearly the halfway point in the year, and people just won't have had any holidays. And whilst you have the ability to carry over some holidays into the next 2 years, there is also a ability for you to enforce holidays on employees. If you wanted somebody to take a week off, you can get them to take a week off whilst they're on furlough. And in some respects, that's not a bad idea. The one rule you need to be aware of is that if you want somebody to take a week's holiday, you have to give them 2 weeks' notice. So the general rule is you have to give them double the amount of notice as you want them to have time off, but you can enforce those holidays. Now, whilst they're on holiday, you have to pay them at 100%, and you can still only claim the 80% back from the government. However, if you think about it, what's happening is the government is paying 80% of your holiday pay. So if you've got people sat at home now, without being too mean on them, you've got the opportunity for the government to pick up quite a significant tab towards your holiday pay. So it might be worth thinking about that if you've got employees who are going to be furloughed for the full month of July. The other thing to think about at the moment is your longer term plans. There may be a need for redundancies in your business. And at the moment, you might not have thought about it because you've got them on 80% furlough. You're paying them 80%. You get all the money back from the government. It doesn't really matter if they're sat at home. It's not affecting you. As furlough starts to get phased out over the next few months, then it's going to start to cost you money if you're wanting to make somebody redundant. So at the moment, if you wanted to make somebody redundant, again, you could get the government to pick up 80% of the redundancy notice period. Of course, you can't if you've got to pay them a lump sum or a statutory redundancy payment. The government doesn't pick up that element, but it will pick up 80% of that notice period that you need to give somebody. So if you're going to make somebody redundant anyway, when the furlough ends, now might not be a bad time to do it from your point of view. So what's happening in terms of the grants and the grant amounts and the amounts that you can get back? For the whole month of July, it's exactly the same as it has been. You can reclaim 80% of your employees' normal costs and get your employer's national insurance and pension repaid as well. If you've got somebody flexibly furloughed in July, then previously you've had a cap of £2,500 a month is the maximum you can claim. If you've got somebody flexibly furloughed in July, you just prorate that cap. So if they've been back for half a month and they're off for half a month, your cap becomes 1,250 for the month of July. So it's worth bearing that in mind. During August, you still get the 80% back for anybody who's furloughed. But you no longer get the employer's national insurance or the employer's pension refunded. And then in September, the contribution drops to 70%. So if you've got somebody working 50% of the time in September, you'll need to pay them 100% for the hours that they're in. You'll then need to pay them 80% for the hours that they're furloughed, but the government will refund you 70% of the furloughed period back. So you'll still need to top up that 10% extra, and you don't get your employer's national insurance or pension back. And then in October, that 70% drops to 60%. So if you've got somebody furloughed in October, you've got to make up the 20% between the 60 and the 80. And again, you don't get the employer's payments back. And then on the 31st of October, the scheme closes. In terms of claims, it's the process that we've been applying so far. It's not going to be any different in so much as we will make one claim per month, as we do now at the time of payroll at the end of the month. You've now got to come. You've now got to. The rules are saying you've got to claim in full months. So if previously anybody was doing mid-month to mid-month, you can't do that anymore. It's got to be full month now. Payments will still be made within 6 working days. And I think that covers everything that we've been asked. Of course, if you've got any more questions, feel free to ping them on an email and we'll answer them for you.